In the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, there is a little piece of paradise, still unknown with spectacular landscapes. This is Albania, the gem of the Balkans. It's here that a young Frenchman, Bérenger Thibault, has started a travel agency. He hopes to change his country of adoption into a new popular touristic destination.
This is one of the most beautiful places in Albania, with a beach bar. There's also a huge nightclub. You can come here for a relaxing week, but also to have fun. For a family, it's just great.
Closed off to foreigners for years, the country has recently opened itself to tourists. Bérenger is always looking for new spots for his clients. It's in this hotel, by the water, that he wants them to stay this season. The rooms are fairly simple, but they all have a terrace with an unbeatable view of the sea. A night there costs 140 euros, much cheaper than on the French Riviera.
It's the most luxurious spot in Albania because of the club and of its isolation.
Its beach is the trendiest of the Albanian coast. The youth of the Balkans come here to party and enjoy its 28-degree crystal blue water. On the weekend, hundreds of partygoers gather to dance under the foam cannons, a sort of Albanian Ibiza. But in the country, there aren't yet enough hotels to welcome all the tourists. Albania is becoming a destination of choice to spend cheap holidays in the sun. So, close to the small beach resorts, on the side of the roads, locals are advertising rooms for rent in their homes.
My apartment? 2 rooms? You want a room? Or 2?
It's a good option for small budgets. Bérenger also has deals with locals, especially Anna, a retired woman. She rents part of her house to earn extra money. A small 350 square foot apartment for 2 to 4 people.
This is the living room, fully functional kitchen, everything you need.
And the best thing about it is this.
You get roughly the same view as the hotels.
Except here, the price is unbeatable. 25 euros a night per person, all inclusive. And Anna is the cook.
The good thing is that you live with Albanians. You're really in touch with them. When they cook for you, it's the real food that they eat every day.
On top of being a cheap destination, Albania is also full of wilderness, ideal for nature lovers willing to cut down a little on comfort. In the smaller villages, people still have a rudimentary lifestyle. These French tourists decided to try those bungalows.
I find these bungalows very functional. We're in bungalows in gardens. We have a view of the sea. We don't want to be in a 4-star hotel. That's not what we're looking for. We're here for conviviality, nature, and authenticity.
For 300 euros a week per family, they also get a terrace with a view of the sea and an outdoor kitchen to cook local products.
The food is really good.
The vegetables are good. They're tasty. We have several kids with us, and we wanted to go somewhere by the sea and without too many tourists.
The kids really loved how the Albanians welcomed them. They're very welcoming.
They were really nice. You can tell that they're happy to see foreigners.
Albania, a country of 3 million people, north of Greece, has been completely cut from the rest of the world by a 45-year communist dictatorship. Ruled by the iron fist of Enver Hoxha, in power until the end of the 1980s. A Frenchman managed to do business with the regime. His name is Julien Roche. This businessman has since made a fortune in Albania.
Awesome. That's great. You see that?
His new project is this palace on the outskirts of the capital. He wants to take advantage of the touristic development.
It cost $15 million.
But today, one of the biggest businesses in the country is drug trafficking. Albania is the #1 producer of cannabis in Europe, and the police can't seem to bring it down.
Is there a lot?
About 100 plants.
The police face archaic traditions, such as vendettas. Children's lives are threatened for crimes they didn't commit.
We'll all die anyway, one day.
But a glamorous event could cover up the scandalous image of the country. The wedding of Prince Leka of Albania. All the European monarchs are expected. For some, Albania is a paradise. For others, a frightening country. Time to discover one of the most surprising European countries. Tirana, the capital, gathers all the wealth of the country. It has 1 million inhabitants, a third of the country's population. The city is in full economic expansion. Everywhere, the concrete buildings have been painted with bright colors to try to erase the remnants of communism. Behind the art museum, the authorities have hidden Stalin's old statue. Eri, Laura, and Iris were children during the dictatorship. They saw their city change. They always go out to the same neighborhood, the block. Located in the city center, it's the trendiest area of the city. You will find dozens of restaurants, cafes, and terraces. Going out here is like a revenge on their past.
It's funny because it used to be the district of the politicians during the communism.
The restricted area, and only a few people were allowed to even walk the streets. And now it's funny because now most of the people walk in this street.
On your right, you have the house of Enver Hoxha, who was the leader of the Communist Party and the dictator of Albania for, yes, this one. The garden and then the villa.
This house is the only one in the neighborhood that has been left intact.
What kind of dictator was he?
The worst, the bad kind.
The bad one. Yes. Yeah. Really? Why?
Everybody had to spy everybody during dictatorship. I mean, even
1 in 3 person was
a spy.
So everybody was afraid to say anything.
A lot of people were killed unjustly, just because they said something or they did something.
Or because they listened to foreigner music.
Or because they had long hair.
The isolated country.
Which was
this is the worst thing.
The worst thing, which we're still dealing with the consequences right now.
After years of deprivation and austerity, the three friends, like all young Albanians, want to make up for lost time. At night, the capital lights up and the youth is out to party, with no troubles in mind. Tirana will not go idle anytime soon. In a few weeks, the capital will host the most glamorous event in the country. In this republic, it's inside the former royal palace that it's being organized. A young woman will soon become Princess of Albania. Her name is Elia Zaharia. She is a 33-year-old actress who studied in France.
With this dress, I'll say yes. Maybe.
Her wedding is in a few weeks. It is a unique occasion to show the new face of Albania. Is your wedding also a way to show Albania to the world?
Yes, it is. That's one of the reasons why it's such a large venue and that we invited so many people from abroad, so that they can leave with a new appreciation of the country.
This is the Prince of Albania, Leka, 34 years old. In exile for 20 years, he is a descendant of the former monarchy.
This is my grandfather.
Yes.
In full dress uniform. This is King Zog.
He was the first Albanian king, correct?
He was the first Albanian king.
In 1928, while he was president, he proclaimed himself King of the Albanians. Zog will then marry a Hungarian countess, Geraldine. He had to flee the fascist invasion during the Second World War. Leka was only allowed back in the country in 2002. He has no political power, but through his wedding, he hopes to make himself known and gain a symbolic position.
I believe that the monarchy could serve the country tremendously. I believe that we will have a very positive role in the future.
Like what?
That's up to the government, it's up to the Albanian people. How would they like to see in the 21st century the role of a young couple like ourselves? What are we going to be able to do? How can we help the country? And if we can promote Albania abroad, well, we're ready.
Still fairly unknown, they want to take their place on the big stage. So for their wedding, they invited every monarch in Europe. It remains to be seen whether or not they will come all the way to Albania. A few weeks later, it's the big day in Tirana. Are ties mandatory?
It's better, no? Otherwise, you'll look a little sloppy. Especially if all the other photographers have one, you know? You'll look like an idiot if you don't.
Luc Kestel is a photographer for A People magazine. He specializes in royal weddings. He has covered more than 30 in his career. He's curious to see what the Albanians, who have very little experience with royalty, have prepared for the ceremony.
It's going to be nice because it's going to be much more relaxed than the other European royal families, reigning or not.
The wedding takes place in the Palace of the Brigades. For Luc, used to the protocols of old monarchies, it's a real change of scenery.
That's what's funny.
Why?
Because the marching band like that, it's kind of corny, but it's fun.
The organizers managed to gather journalists from all around the world.
I'm from Belgium.
Belgium?
And the United States.
Netherlands.
Ukraine.
I'm from Albania. I live here.
Local journalists are surprised by such a gathering. Indeed, most Albanians don't even know that they have a prince.
Is it a big event or not for Albania?
I don't know. Is it? I don't even know how many are aware of this fact.
If the media is here, it's because the wedding could gather members of the most important royal families in Europe.
Margareta of Romania. That's not... Hey, get out of the way, dummy.
Luc Kestel knows most monarchs.
Madam, madam, madam. Here, just like that. There you go.
There's the prince and the princess of Serbia,
How are you?
the Prince Ali Farouk, and the Great Duchess Maria of Russia.
Madam, 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 look here. Madam. Prince, Prince. Your Highness, Your Highness.
The Prince and Princess of Luxembourg.
Ah, Madam, good evening. How do you do?
You're here.
Yes, I'm here. Prince of Arenberg, how are you? You doing good?
What beautiful sunshine.
Indeed.
The reigning families are the most anticipated, and today the star of the red carpet is Queen Sofia, the mother of the King of Spain.
Madam, let's do one of the two of you. Good, madam. Your Majesty? Your Majesty?
It seems to be an important event for the royal families, considering how many of them showed up.
And for Albanians too, I think.
Their country is in the spotlight. That's what the royal couple was hoping for.
You, Elia Zaharia, do you take Leka to be your lawfully wedded husband? For better or for worse?
I do.
The couple chose a civil union. There will be no religious ceremony. It's a unique case for a royal wedding, although representatives of the main religions are in attendance.
In the eyes of the whole world, this civil wedding is the symbol of the peace and religious harmony that is in the DNA of Albania.
The parents of the groom are Muslim and Protestant. The brides are Orthodox. Among the wedding guests are the former French Minister of Culture and Stéphane Bern, a French journalist expert in royalty.
With the 5 religions being represented, I feel that this is a beautiful lesson in harmony. It's true that the royal family itself embraces all this diversity. It's in the image of the country.
Mission accomplished for the young couple. Royal families from 20 different countries have made the trip for their wedding, and the press will echo the event.
The show is over, as we say. I didn't have time to take a look. Let's see. I tried to take a picture of the two of them.
In a few days, the picture will be on the cover of his magazine. But will it be enough to change the wild image of Albania? The country faces a major issue: drug trafficking. It's the #1 producer of cannabis in Europe. In these remote mountains are countless marijuana fields. Here are images shot by the Italian police. We can see dozens of plots spread out among the vegetation. They are those white patches with black dots on them. Often accused of not doing enough, or even being part of the traffic, the authorities have decided to act.
Bring them all here. Tell them to get ready.
Skender Kalimi is the chief of the criminal police. He has gathered 60 men, mixing special forces and local policemen to raid cannabis plantations.
You've received instructions through your commanding officers. We have to leave quietly. We're going in the mountains, okay? I want this operation to be a success. Get in your vehicles and let's go.
It's 4 a.m. The policemen are heavily armed. After 25 years in the force, Skender knows that drug traffickers have assault rifles and use them if necessary.
It's very dangerous. During our first operation, a helicopter was hit and crashed. Another was slightly damaged.
The The drug fields are located in the middle of the mountains, in a remote area, hard to access.
Look at this track.
The group advances on dirt paths. It takes more than 5 hours on these rocky roads to get to the crops. In these conditions, hard to surprise the enemy.
It's part of the criminal strategy. Everything is well organized in their traffic. It doesn't discourage us, but the difficulty compared to the time it takes, we're never quick and efficient enough.
The police chief places his men in attack position.
Special forces form a straight line. Army, go further down. We're going to surround them.
The special forces are positioned above to cover the other units.
You can go. The perimeter is secured.
It's the middle of July. It's already 40 degrees.
Come on, hurry up.
The police must find and destroy 45 plots spotted by the Italian police planes. After 20 minutes of search, one of the teams finds the first crops of marijuana hidden in the bushes.
That's cannabis, a whole plot.
Is there a lot?
About 100 plants.
The farmers are gone, but signs indicate that they left in a hurry.
You can see that those hoses there are connected to the stream up there.
The Albanian mountains are perfect to grow these plants, with easy access to water and a lot of sun. Enough to push local farmers to go against the law. 2 kilos of cannabis are worth as much as a ton of wheat.
Usually it's people who lived from agriculture, and now with cannabis, they've found a much quicker way to make money. So they engage in criminal activities on top of legal ones. Hello, Vaizo? Did you find more?
Today, the police will find more than 5,000 cannabis plants. They claim to have destroyed 2 million this year only. Yet Albania is still the leader in marijuana production in Europe. Is the mafia behind this traffic? When hearing the word mafia, the chief of police loses it.
I'm sorry, but you're not journalists. You are asking provoking questions. You're asking me if there's mafia in Albania. What do I know? All I know is what's in the official reports. I'm going to knock on people's doors and ask them if they're going to belong to the mafia? Of course not.
If the mafia is a sensitive topic here, it's because for years the police and politicians have been accused of corruption. And for years, the drug traffickers were operating in plain sight with no consequences. In 2012, a video shot in Lazaret by 2 Dutch tourists found a worldwide audience.
We were told about a village. People told us not to go, but we went anyway to see what was going on. Well, that's what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in Lazaret, and all these are marijuana crops. I don't know if you can see them well, but they're all marijuana plants. And they're everywhere. Here, there, there. The whole village is full of them.
This little village is called the Kingdom of Cannabis. 900 tons are produced there each year for a revenue of more than 4 billion euros a year. More than a third of Albania's GDP. Delighted by their trip, the 2 tourists posted their video on social media, giving international fame to Lazaret. the Albanian authorities can no longer look away. Tirana, Ministry of Internal Affairs. In jeans and sneakers, meet Samir Tahiri. The minister, at age 35, he has been in office for 3 years. He is part of a government whose big project is to join the European Union. But to do so, Albania can no longer be associated to drug trafficking or corruption. So the first thing he wants to show us is this video of the police operation led in Lazarat in 2014.
All these are crops.
Combat helicopters, armored vehicles. 800 policemen took part in the largest anti-drug operation led by the ministry. The village is raided. The traffickers answer with heavy fire.
It was a week-long war.
22 were arrested, but only low-level leaders, no high-ranking criminals. The ministry was therefore accused of corruption and suspected to have protected the drug traffickers.
I was treated like a criminal, or like a friend of the criminals and drug traffickers since my first day in office. I've been accused after each arrest for each plant that is destroyed by the police. And someone put a bomb in front of my parents' house. I was accused of placing it myself. I'll start worrying when people stop accusing me.
The minister assures us that he has cleaned up the police forces.
In the 3 years since I arrived, more than 3,000 police officers were prosecuted in criminal or ethics cases.
But some believe that all these operations are only a facade, especially one investigative journalist. In the offices of the first Albanian news channel, Arten Oja takes part in a debate on marijuana. He has published several investigations exposing the corruption of police forces. He has received many death threats throughout his career.
These are AK-47 bullets. One day my son came home from school with an envelope in his hand. He was given that envelope for me. He gave it to me. I opened it, and inside were these 2 bullets. An investigation was opened, with no results.
Despite this, the journalist has carried on with his investigations. It's 5 a.m. in the suburbs of Tirana. Arten is meeting with 2 cameramen. He is preparing a story on police corruption.
Our hint is that the police knows that the workers employed by the drug traffickers come from the suburbs of Tirana and do nothing about it. It's our goal today to film that. If I say I don't move, nobody moves. Steve, the camera must be running at all times, okay?
Okay.
We use the car's lights. We don't turn on the one on the camera to avoid detection. Okay, let's go.
At this hour in the industrial area, everything is closed. Yet on the road, we witness a curious movement of men and women.
Look, they're all here. Easy. Careful. That's it. They're all here. That's where they gather.
They all work for drug traffickers. Trucks like this one come pick them up and bring them to the warehouses, where they sort and package the marijuana. It's impossible to miss all that movement. But a little further down the road, the police does nothing.
Look at that. It's so obvious. There is no way the police doesn't know about it. You just need to come here to realize that.
But there's worse. Some policemen could also be taking part in this trafficking. That is what one of these workers tells us. He's 18. He worked 4 months in a field with more than 10,000 plants of cannabis.
At first, I began digging holes to put fertilizer in. Then I started planting cuttings. Then I was in charge of looking after plants, watering and trimming them. Then came the harvest, the curing. I did a little bit of everything.
During these activities, he regularly saw the police, but they didn't come to destroy the drugs. On the contrary.
During the last month, they came almost every day. They came to take their share. When we'd prepare 100 kilos, we'd put 30 kilos aside. That was their 30% share. We'd pack them up, put them in bags, and load them inside their car.
It's hard to fight corruption when the average police officer earns 300 euros per month. Albania is one of the poorest countries in the world, with 20% of its population below the poverty line. Yet, a man managed to make a fortune, and he's French. He lives in this house with a rather eccentric decoration. Julian Roche, Albania's most powerful businessman. Each Sunday, he organizes a lunch gathering the most influential persons of the country.
They should be here soon. 1 o'clock, that's good. Hello, Marina, how are you? How are you? They're so big now.
At Julian Roche's table, businessmen, writers, the former ambassador of Albania to New York, and even the Minister of Culture of the country. Today, there's also the head of a major French bank. If they all meet in his home, it's because Julian Roche is unavoidable if you want to make it in Albania.
He's the example of someone who can succeed in a country that wasn't very well known at first. Difficult. In a country where everything was left to rebuild, he made it. He built an economic empire.
An empire that he began building 35 years ago.
Don't you agree?
Completely, comrade.
No, but he's talking about 10 years ago.
He was one of the rare Westerners to get in the country during the dictatorship. And he accomplished the feat of doing business with communists.
They were willing to buy a lot of things, but they had no money at all, so they would trade you for other things. They paid you with anything, rugs, minerals, everything they could produce, which was very little, thus a lot of raw materials at first. At the very beginning, I'd found medicinal plants, not the modern ones that you can find here, not those you smoke, but medicinal herbs, used more in cooking, including and especially sage. So when I found that product in their list, I first went to see Mr. Gilbert Ducrot, who ran a spices and herbs company in France, a very nice guy, who's dead now, but not from me selling him sage. In fact, he bought a lot of things, and then I found out that he was reselling my products at twice the price in the United States, so I started to sell them my products directly. It's funny because after a while I was buying more from them than they had use for my products. So they started telling me we need helicopters, turbines for our hydropower plants, and so on. So I brought them a lot of things in bulk, 10,000 TVs, all kinds of stuff.
At one point, Julian Roche was the largest private employer in Albania. Today, he manages around 20 different companies. Agribusiness, telecommunication, construction, energy. There is still a long way to go for the country. While in the middle of a rapid economic development, it still struggles to get rid of archaic traditions that go back to the Middle Ages. It's in the north of the country, in the mountains, that these traditions are the most deeply rooted. Here, the population follows laws written in the 15th century. They are issued from a judicial code called the Kanuni. Inside, a violent rule with tragic consequences. The debt of blood, the vendetta. This morning, Liliana is tensed.
Now get on the bus. Thank you, Chief.
This teacher has organized a rather unusual field trip. She's being escorted by the police.
Goodbye. I'll look after them.
Liliana picks up the students from their homes. She has to reassure each parent.
I swear to God, they're like my own children. Bye. Come on, guys. Hop on, hop on.
It's a high-risk trip. All these children are under the threat of death. One day, a family member committed murder, and since then, the victim's relatives have been seeking revenge. These children have all become targets. 2 police cars are escorting the bus.
Sammy, get over the big bridge and you'll park behind the bus. We just crossed the bridge.
The vendetta has its rules. It is forbidden to kill people at home. So these children live enclosed. Like Arben, this teenager never leaves his house because his uncle killed a man one day.
I don't even know my enemies. It happened before I was born.
And how do you feel?
Bad, of course. I can't feel good. I'm not happy like my friends in the neighborhood. They can smile.
How do you picture your future?
I don't even think about it.
These children are between 6 and 17. None of them go to school. It's Liliana who gives them classes at home. She's been trying to help them for 10 years.
Be careful with the camera here. The children's case is very sensitive. They've faced 2 murders and a lot of problems.
Teenagers can't resist. Holton is 17. He admits that sometimes, despite the risks, he still leaves his home.
When you're locked up, you hold as long as you can, but at some point it's just too much. There's no choice. We'll all die one day anyway. The time of our death is not important. What counts is to have accomplished something.
The problem with vendettas is that they never stop. It's a vicious circle. What if you have to avenge your family?
Before, I would have said I give up, but when you've been locked up for 6 years, your anger grows. And you feel smothered. Death. We grew up with the idea, so maybe I would do it.
Today is International Children's Day. They are invited to a celebration in Tirana. Some of them have never been to town.
Look, it's the statue of Mother Teresa.
Is that a car dealership?
Yes, it is. Look, a Mercedes.
How many millions does it cost?
Wait up, kids. I'll get out first. Wait for me by the door. Wait.
When they arrive, 2 policemen from Tirana are there as backup. Music, cartoon characters, and presents. For a few hours, they will forget their walled-up lives. It It is in Shkuder, a large town in the north that dozens of families live inside their homes to avoid death. Arben's family, the teenager we filmed on the bus, has agreed to talk to us. The child lives here with his 2 brothers and his father, Elton.
We've had this problem for years now. It's getting more and more complicated because they are angry, very angry, in the other family.
As long as they are home, they are safe. It's the Kanuni law. So Elton and his kids live enclosed inside their house. Only the mother can go out because, according to tradition, vengeance can only be exacted on males.
It's my younger brother. He started the whole thing. He killed first. He's responsible for everything.
Everything started with a drunken fight. Elton's brother killed several people. The system dictates that for each life lost on one side, one must be taken on the other. So, Elton has seen all his brothers die, one after another. He's the lone survivor. And psychologically, how did you feel about all that?
It's hard to explain. I can't describe it. To be honest, it's something really heavy. Every time I see their pictures, I'm filled with sadness.
You're the only one alive?
Yes, I don't have any brothers left.
Elton's family is still in debt. One male has to die.
Don't kill him, or he'll take revenge on your family.
What does it represent to be the target of a vendetta?
It's unfair. It feels like the whole family is doomed.
Yet the family has tried to seek forgiveness from the other side through this man, Shulani, a mediator. He belongs to a well-respected family in the region. His father and grandfather, both wise men, also had the difficult mission to sort out this type of conflict.
Hello, have a seat.
Hi, Elton.
He has tried everything to convince the other family not to take revenge, without success. He continues to look for solutions with Elton.
Did you try to send someone else to talk to them?
We did, but they refused everything.
They refused to talk?
Maybe with time, the only thing that could resolve that situation is forgiveness. But for them, it's out of the question.
In the region, renouncing revenge is seen as cowardice, and vendettas are easy because weapons are everywhere.
May God protect us.
There are more weapons than houses in Albania.
Until now, Elton has managed to protect his sons. But all parents were not as fortunate. Manu Chache mourns her daughter, Mary, 16, was shot along with her grandfather, both victims of a vendetta. Even though the Kanuni forbids killing women and the elderly.
They were killed at the same time while working in the fields.
But it's forbidden to kill women.
That's what the Kanuni says, but they killed her anyways.
It was 4 years ago. The killers have never been identified. In the Kanuni, there is another unexpected tradition, and followed only in the Balkans. It allows women to be men. We are in the small town of Bayamsuri, in the north of Albania. In the cafes, this morning, only men. Almost. Despite the appearances, Bedri is a woman. She is what is called a sworn virgin. She lives like a man. She has the same rights. In exchange, she swore to stay a virgin. Bedri made that choice at a very young age because she wanted to be free. She's now a taxi driver.
Before, democracy was very hard for women. Now it's much better. Women were not allowed to smoke, couldn't get wood in the forest. They couldn't even leave the house alone or be seen by men. All they could do was take care of the house.
From an early age, Bedri always felt closer to boys.
I went to school in the village down there. I would always play with boys. All the other girls wore dresses. I wore sweatpants.
Since the death of her brother, Bedri is the head of the family. She takes care of her sister-in-law and her nephews. But with her salary, it is sometimes hard to provide for all of them.
It's to cook bread. We don't have enough money to pay for electricity, so we use wood. It's a man's job, it's not for women. It's tiring.
Her pledge to remain a virgin doesn't seem to be a problem. Have you ever been in love?
Never. I don't even think about it.
Would you have liked to be born in a man's body?
Yes, very much, but it's not a problem. I consider myself a man.
Bedri was never mocked or rejected.
I'm even more respected than the other men in the village. Hi, how are you?
All good.
And the family? And health?
Here the sworn virgins are fully integrated into society. Do you see Bedri as a man or as a woman?
As a man. Since we were kids, he was always considered as a boy. In Albania, sworn virgins are highly respected because they've made it a big sacrifice. They sacrifice their lives for their family. It's a sacrifice to renounce their women's nature and to become a man.
Today, with the improvement of women's condition, sworn virgins are disappearing. It is said that there are only a dozen left in the northern mountains. Back in Tirana, we meet with Julian Roche, the French businessman. This morning, he wants to show us his latest project, the creation of the first Albanian palace. It will hold 180 rooms, and more importantly, a casino.
Hello, Bassine. Great. It's good we're making progress.
Bassine is the architect behind this gigantic project.
Look at this magnificent stained glass. They're amazing. They were all handcrafted. There's an attention to detail, a quality that you can't find anywhere else. It's gorgeous. Let's go upstairs.
According to our information, Julian invested an enormous amount in this palace, more than 20 million euros. With Renaissance and Baroque styles, each room has its own wood paneling. hand-painted with 24-karat gold leaves, and unique paintings on each ceiling.
Everything has been handcrafted.
Absolutely everything.
It's the whole concept.
It's a work of art when you think about it. Amazing. It's a bit crazy, very crazy. It's amazing.
Luxury is everywhere. All the bathrooms are made of marble.
All the mosaic is handcrafted.
All the marbles are from Albania. Impressive, right?
Let's go downstairs to see the Cave of Wonders.
Ah, that's great.
In the basement, dozens of sculptures are waiting to be placed around the palace. All the decoration is made here, in these workshops. 300 craftsmen have been hired and trained to promote Albanian workmanship. In all the different lines of work, stone carving, woodworking, ironworking, painting.
This represents hundreds of thousands of hours of work, a colossal task.
Each room is unique. Most are works of art.
That's a mosaic with more than 140 shades of colors. In 20 or 30 years, it'll be worth $15 million.
That's good.
In this project, everything is extravagant.
Look at that. He's our national hero.
And where are you going to put it in the hotel?
On top of the dome, at the top of the hotel.
This gigantic statue will be placed here, on top of the palace. Julian Roche hopes that it will become the symbol of the new face of Albania.